Chill.
Welcome to another episode of VFX and Chill. I am Seth. That is Hashi. Down there is Michael. Everybody, we are repeating.
Hey, everybody.
History is repeating again today. We are coming back to Severance, a show that 2/3 of us love and 1/3 of us really speaks out about, hates, I think, right? Michael, you're like a famous hater of Severance.
I hate it so much. I know nothing about it. I have not had the pleasure of seeing it.
That was a joke. That was just to make me feel uncomfortable. I would love to know who out there in the chat has not seen Severance. We have no intent of spoiling things for you today. We're just going to probably confuse some of you, much like our pre-show probably did if you've not seen it. Also, if you're in the chat, just reach out anyway and say hello. And speaking of the chat, if you might see some chats pop up down here in the corner. Some of them you might not see in the chat you are on. We are streaming to a bunch of channels: the Red Giant channel, Maxon Training Team channel. But the one, if you really want to be involved in the chat, the one you want to be watching right now is at youtube.com/@VFXandChill. That's where you want to go and watch the show there. And go ahead and subscribe to that channel and like every video on it. Watch every video on it 200 times. And then you will be a true fan. We are excited today to be talking about the show.
You can even use it as put yourself to sleep kind of thing if you need. Just kind of loop it in the background and just relax to it.
100%. We are famously a very chill show. We don't ever do anything that's really sudden or could possibly wake you up. We are very much, we're a very chill show with no sudden movements. Hashi, I think people want to hear your voice now. I've talked a lot. Tell me about Severance. Why are we doing Severance again today?
We are doing Severance again today because Severance is a very thoughtfully crafted show, and that includes the story and the visuals. One of the reasons we got to cover it last time was that the Severance features two very interesting and off-putting intro sequences that were created in Cinema 4D. Which is pretty cool, using tons of deformers and physics and a bunch of random stuff. I don't have the artist pulled up. I usually do at all times.
But
why can't I remember
this is this season's intro. It's very, very, very cool. We'll definitely find the name of the artist. If you want to see how we this is a big one to talk about, is the intro. That's, people talk about Severance, a lot of things that we'll talk about, a lot of things. There's a lot of inventive stuff about the show, but the intro is very iconic. Even the seasons 1 and 2 both have a very particular style that's very cool. And we have
Oliver Latta, known as Extra Weg on Instagram.
You're over there at Art of the Title.
It's the best thing because Ben Stiller literally saw one of his ridiculous reels on Instagram and was like, "Oh, these are so off-putting," something like this.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I thought, oh man, what a human as a product weird way to explain that. And so a lot of that aesthetic makes it directly into the intro for this film, and it's pretty cool.
Now, we're not talking about the intro today. We have actually talked about the intro before on a previous episode. I forgot that you had this. Who did I just say this actually looks like? This is like... this
looks like...
I'm so uncomfortable. Looks like Jack Valenti combined with a skeleton. And a little bit of Adam Scott.
It's definitely a dead person.
We're going to come back to that.
Some sort.
But anyway, Michael's got the intro there in the chat. The Severance opening titles episode, Severance. We are today going to be talking about some VFX that we have seen in the show that we want to imitate or recreate. What are those, Hash? Remind me.
Should we jump to some clips? Do we have that ability?
Yes, I have clip ability. Which you want?
Awesome. Maybe we could start with the nightmare.
Nightmare. Okay, we're going to try not to spoil anything. Someone has a nightmare in the show. And it looks a little something like this. So I don't want to play the whole scene in its entirety and get canceled. But
no, but like obviously as a movie that takes place, or show that takes place in an office setting.
Wait. What? All right, anyway.
Obviously, this is a departure from the usual visual style of the show. If you've seen any still from it, it is kind of a minimalist, minimalist mid-century modern,
sure,
70s inspired office. I don't know what I would call it.
Min-centramalist turn is what I would call it. I think that's what everyone
nailed it.
Everyone calls it that. But this sequence, however, it stands out. It's different. This is an episode that we won't get into it. There's an episode that's slightly different in season 2 than most of the looks of most of their episodes, and particularly this dream sequence in which a character is walking through this hazy, snowy, dreamy-like place. Now, obviously,
Seth,
yes.
Speaking of, someone made a joke in the chat that you might recognize.
Oh, interesting.
Michael Palek.
My friend.
Pre-release handbook toast.
Anyways,
is that what you want, Michael Palek? Is that what you were after?
Our instant drop machine works.
And it was so natural the way that we did it. Here's what I'm curious about. Just want to remind everybody real quick that the auto drops are on an automated system. I can't control them half the time. I'm curious in this sequence, like, obviously, like most of the foreground, the sticks and stuff was either location or a set. This is a very expensive show. This show is famously went, especially season 2, over budget, and it all is on screen. It is a beautiful show. It is not only just very well written, very, very, very well acted, but it's visually gorgeous and sounds amazing as well. But I'm curious. I have to assume, just like I do with anything I look at now that's on TV or in movies, that it is augmented in some way. And so I'm curious, like, what here do you think is worth recreating, Hush?
Well, it's interesting, like creating kind of those like atmospheric, like landscapes, like, nightmare landscapes, would feel very much like, Stranger Things or
The Gorge
or whatever.
Have you seen The Gorge?
The Gorge. Yeah, The Gorge just came out. I have not.
That's a fun movie. We saw that. I liked it. It was fun.
I enjoyed The Gorge. 4 out of 5 gorges. Would gorge again.
Would gorge.
But there's a lot of this like volumetric hazy atmosphere in The Gorge, and it's has very specific color palettes in The Gorge as well, which is very cool to look at. There's a lot of scenes. I always think of Kong Skull Island, which a movie that I adore. There's a whole sequence that's ludicrous, involving poisonous gas that goes away really quickly, inexplicably, but it's like all of this green, foggy atmosphere, very influenced by Apocalypse Now. I have done looks like there's the Blade Runner also. Blade Runner 2049, the Las Vegas sequence where Gosling goes and finds a character. Spoiler alert. Go watch Blade Runner 2049. Come on. But I do know that Film Riot has done an episode before on how, like, I know those guys they recreated specifically from Blade Runner, like those Blade Runner shots in post.
Oh, nice.
We've done it some here on the show because I know there are a lot of shots in Sketch that I did this on, and I know we talked about it at some point, but I do not remember what episode it would have been. But what could we do differently this time?
It's a good question. I mean, I feel like one of the neat things about the lack of information you get adds to the mystery and also means that it doesn't need to be the most crazy 3D model or I feel like there's a 2D approach to this with like stock footage and layers. and then there's a like redshift render with atmospherics and stuff kind of thing.
Yeah.
I could imagine us trying both a little bit.
I can imagine it too. You know what shot I really want to do? And let me see if I don't want to spoil anything.
See, if you want to go to my screen, I have a scene that I can talk about for just a second too.
Okay.
That I think
yes. Talk about
cool.
that.
Obviously, you know, I will try not to spoil anything that isn't in the trailer there. But let's see. Open those pictures to have in the background. But as they are expanding what types of settings you get to see in this weird Severance world, this one I thought was a striking bit of production design. And my wife was like, how did they film this? Here's what I think, and had some theories as to how they created this setting. Do either of you have either know or have any inklings as to how you would accomplish this?
I know how I would want to do it is just to shoot outside on a cloudy day with these hills and then key the sky and replace it with the warehouse building.
I would think that the ceiling, I think it's a stage. I think they shot it on a stage because that doesn't like that. I mean, that looks like it's on a soundstage. They probably built the wall, or there's blue screen or green screen back there. But the ceiling is definitely replaced because they probably have full lighting rig up there on the ceiling. And so I would imagine the ceiling is added in post at the very least. You tell me, Hash. Do you know?
So boom. You both have elements that are pretty right. So this is
I hear that I was right. That's what I really heard. That's most important.
The UK or something like that. I actually don't know where it is, but they built basically like a wedding tent kind of thing around it. And then at the base, in some directions, they have little bits of set, or at least the right tone for what the digital replacement set would look like. And the entire sequence was filmed by this goat, which is pretty cool. Here you can see some of the practicals.
Oh my God!
But pretty amazing, yeah. So they had so I think that back here is probably where they entered from, and so they could do that cool like a reveal shot that you're in a very natural ground.
Before the show, Hashi, you and I were talking about how like it's real hard to make each other laugh on the show because whenever one is talking, the other one is doing something. And this was a moment where this almost passed by me. You did the goat, right? The goat is you. It's not. They didn't come that way.
No, this is from the photo.
Brilliant. So good.
I don't know if it is actually.
Goats. They are. Their main goal in life is to break things and chew on them, and they're very curious little buggers. I'm sure they didn't even need to ask the goat to do.
I thought you were going to say they're gearheads. They're famously gearheads,
which is
they're cinephiles. They love checking out camera gear.
Fear,
incredible.
Checking out cameras.
These are the kinds of like innovative things that like aren't like it's weird. It's super weird to put a field in the middle of a office building space, and I feel like these weird juxtapositions are what the show does that are so off-putting in a weird way.
It does,
and to make for their VFX being pretty unique.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that was another scene that I thought was cool.
The next thing I'm going to show you, it can be perceived as spoilery. I don't think it is. It's very abstract, and you can do it what you want. But just warning people out there, if you don't want to be, if you're
like a total blackout on it.
Yeah, if you're one of those weirdos who just can't handle knowing that something exists before you watch it. I'm just kidding. Here is a sequence from. No, don't watch this. Is what I'm saying. So I really love these visuals. The show has been doing a lot of this season, where it is juxtaposing, not juxtaposing, but it's like intercutting with these really cool jump cuts. And blending.
It reminds me of that the David Fincher Nike ad.
Oh yeah,
I think it's Nike. I don't know if it's Nike.
Did we talk about that on the show at some point?
We did at some point. I don't remember for what.
This is the episode where we never remember things. But obviously, what's so cool about this is that it's not just intercutting between like shots. It seems to be blending like elements of one shot or one take into other ones, and like I'm sure there's a lot of, I'm sure these are all augmented in some way so that they're lining up and matching so perfectly. But I would imagine, but I can tell, they're also leaving so much. They're keeping it really glitchy, and the feet aren't perfectly lined up each time. Same with the chairs down here, which tells me they might actually just be doing this in the cut and not actually augmenting anything. But even still, I kind of want to see if I can create this effect, not from scratch, but from stock footage or footage of myself and some
I like that.
Some gin fill or something. I'm gonna see. That's kind of what I want to do first. And there's other stuff if we get bored that we can play around with. But I'm curious, do we want to talk about the abomination that you showed us at the beginning, briefly a second ago in cinema?
Nah.
Okay, great. So yeah, even though it's right there.
We're not going to talk about him, but he's going to be right here.
Perfect. I think I'm going to go to our good buddy Art List.
I represent athletes. These are my stories.
And I'm going to pull some stock footage. I feel like that's the right thing to do. What do you think?
I like that. You pull some stock footage. I am going to...
What are you going to do?
Gosh. It's fantastic. I'm going to pull in some assets from the Quixel Bridge. There are some stuff in the asset browser too, but I really wanted to work with these to maybe start putting together kind of a set. So one thing that I know is kind of neat about the show is that obviously it takes place in a wintry landscape. So just to get myself started, let me add, I'll drag in one of these HDRIs. And once I do, you'll see the look will change quite significantly. I'll close After Effects in the meantime.
Do you want to answer how you made the Adam Scott bust, or are we not going to even
I don't think he wants to talk about it ever again.
No, that's fine. I threw a model into that Avatar SDK maker thing, but then it kind of sucked, and so then I grabbed the model, subdivision, surfaced it, and then remodeled the shapes a little bit, and then went and got some photos and used Substance to project them onto him. It was a whole thing. It was fun. It started out like this, and I don't know if, whoops. Oh, I guess I must have saved over that texture at some point. And to be honest, I don't know if it ever got any better.
No, you have to show us. That's fine. You explained it enough.
Perfect.
Ah!
There's also this reference, which I felt was too weird and sad.
That's like
this is from a shot of Adam
our favorite
Scott
actor
in the trailer, looking up from down, and I thought, oh, maybe I can photogrammetry just that small rotation of the head, and it kind of worked.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, I'm just gonna leave this right here so I forget before I close this file. My favorite thing is not remembering what are on my other tabs when I'm working, and then when I go to close it, it'll say do you want to save this?
Do you want this in your life?
All right, so here's a fun, quick tip. All right. So I have all of these materials. I really like especially this tree right here. And now that I have the dome light in there, if I go to Redshift and start IPR, I can see a little preview of this looking a little bit better. Let's see. Oh, I should close my other. I have this saved too. Why not? Let's save Severance. Okay, freeing up some GPU, and here we go. All right, so this is the background HDRI, and it's lighting this tree right now, which is kind of cool. But it's a winterscape kind of scene, so I want to show you a cool little technique. Let's focus on just this tree, I guess tree number 2 here. All right, I'm just going to hide the others for a moment. I could solo with that too, whatever. So if I highlight this tree, you can see the material that it's using is this one right here. If I open that, it's called this dead tree texture right here. So If I open that up, you can see the nodes for this. Basically, it's a so this isn't in a node form. So I'm going to do something that didn't work for me the other week, but now it does. So watch this. I don't want to use this. I want to use the new interface. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to select all of my textures up here. And then I'm going to say Material, Tools, Convert and Replace with Nodes. Then I'm just going to sit back. You'll see down on the bottom corner here, things are baking together. One thing that I think that I usually do on the show is I go to my display settings and say, let's make everything a little bit bigger so y'all can read stuff a little more clearly. Hopefully that doesn't break my stream there. All right, cool. And we're back. Okay, so now if I go to this and open it up, you'll see that it's similar looking, but this is the new node editor. This is what we want. And it's kind of neat. So as you'll recall, this output object is what ends up being rendered here in the viewer. And you can click on any element of in the node tree, and you can press this little solo button if you want to just see one item and the way that it affects the texture. So I can press solo there, and you can see just this pattern on here, which I love.
Yeah, I use it all the time when I'm putting a Maxon noise into the scene because, you know, if I'm driving a bump map with it, I want to see what size the noise is, what it looks like. So that little quick solo button is so much easier than the old way of having to connect it to the output every freaking time.
And in fact, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to Adjust and add a color multiplier and just make this tree a little bit darker. I did two things. I adjusted the gamma up a little bit, and then I went to this Adjust and multiplied it over top of kind of a darker color like that. That's just for preference. I want it to be a dark looking tree from these nightmare sequences. But then we're going to do something pretty cool. I'm going to minimize that, and I'm going to make a new material right here. I'm going to call it Snow. And then I'm going to go into here, and let's do a couple of things. Let's just for quickness, let's just make a white texture there, and we'll make the roughness a little bit higher. And let's scroll down and say that there should be some subsurface weight if it's snow. Maybe slightly cool subsurface color, something like that. I'm just turning it up a little bit like this.
Every time I start doing snow, I'm always tempted to use the car flakes, like the car paint flakes shader to get the sparkles.
Oh, that's a good idea. The sparkles are
I didn't say that you should do it. I just said I'm always tempted to do it. Yeah. Brian the White is asking, do you think all the computer screens are practical, or do they do all the computer screens in post, or do you think it's a mix? They didn't ask that, but I'm adding that on.
Computer screens tend to always do in post. It's just too much time to do.
I've heard anecdotally the screens are on, and they do literally have like some kind of interactive version of the game that looks sort of like the one that is in the show, but then they're all replaced by the end.
I knew they had it for that New York experience they did, like the live experience, but I didn't know that they do it on the show too. They have like a version.
Maybe that was the interview that I'm remembering.
And it, like Adam Scott like broke his like pretty quickly in.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic Adam Scott.
Go ahead, keep going.
Oh yeah, go for it.
No, I'm just gonna say an update. I've got this shot of this guy.
Hey.
He's like, hi, I'm in an office. And I'm going to go through and do a couple things. I think what I might do is just like chop up the scene a little bit. And one thing that I like about this is the way that it glitches where his hair kind of changes. He these chairs over here, like wiggle back and forth. His body has slight adjustments and movements. And so I'm wondering if I like chop this up into pieces and then reorder them so that like it'll jump back and forth between, or you know what I could do? I could do almost like a wiggle on the time. That might be crazy. What would that be? That would be like enable time remapping.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you do what, like a wiggle and then posturize it or something?
Yeah, you could try that.
Or random. Like
random was going to be intense.
Random. But, yeah, you're right.
I mean, I've done things like this before. I've usually used some kind of a wiggle expression, and I don't remember really what does it the best way.
Here's what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to go to my project settings. I'm going to go to time display style. I'm going to go to frames. So between 0 and 272, and I'm going to say random, or no, because I want... Well, do I do random and then can I do, is it a minimum, a maximum in here? Is that what the parameters you put into a random expression?
Yes, between like a random number between this and this. What you could do is you could say like x equals and then a random number between there and there. And then the output here is time plus, like x, like posterized to 12 or something like that. So it only changes every...
Is my internet sucking or is
so
yours, Hash?
Michael,
is Hashi coming in?
Everything seemed smooth on the playback over here, but maybe not.
Okay. Michael, what's your experience? Are you...
Let us know in the comments if we're coming through slower or anything like that.
Let me see.
I don't know if I'm a good person to ask. My internet's always crappy.
Yeah, you both are looking real choppy.
Oh, I do.
On my end.
You look like I'm coming in. I'm seeing the feed from the show super smooth, except that I look really choppy.
Yeah, you and Michael both look choppy
in
in
the playback window.
That's weird. Okay.
Weird.
All right, anyway, we'll go back to you while
I'm sure
continue figuring
this have enabled
out.
our time remapping.
We'll go back to you now.
All right. So hopefully this plays without too much crazy delay. All right. What I'm going to do is in this node editor for the dark tree trunk that I have, I'm going to kind of slide my output way out to here. And then I'm going to add a couple of nodes. One, I'll just press C and I'll type material blender and add one of these right here. And then I'm also going to press C and add a reference right here. And I'll put my reference right there. And here is a little material swatch, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to use the surface right here. And I'm going to drag snow that we just created right into here. And now this is going to source this texture. And then I'm going to use the material blender to blend, to kind of go in between, to blend the snow and this together. And here's how we're going to do it. We'll take the out color, and instead of going straight to the output, it'll go to the base color for the material blender. And then this output will go to there. So the first thing that happens is effectively nothing, because it's just mixing those two together. And then what I'm going to do is, since this reference is snow, I'm going to click it over here to this material color section. So it's going to try to grab color from it, but then it needs a second blend color, which is usually mask or something like that.
Yeah, I can't see Hashi's screen either. I mean, I can see the screen, but it's kind of stopped moving.
I feel like this has got to somehow be related to my internet going out,
but Michael's sucks too. That's weird.
I mean, I'm getting everything from Seth just fine.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I'm getting everything from Seth fine as well.
Maybe Microsoft is already shutting Skype off.
Maybe it is.
It's giving us hints. Yeah, I am totally frozen.
Maybe stop sharing and then start sharing.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, while we figure this out, we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, I'm Seth. And Hashi and Michael are dead. We are... Not really. We're trying to figure out what's going on with the internet. Okay, Hashi is visible. Michael's visible. Hashi's screen doesn't look too bad. Hashi and Michael cannot move, though.
I feel like I'm not moving. Am I moving on the call?
You're not. Here, I'm going to try something. Get ready. This is going to be bad.
Oh, no.
Radical.
Oh, no.
Get ready. Something. Get ready. This is going to be bad.
All right.
Oh, that was me earlier saying that. Are we back yet?
Now we're back.
Oh, we are?
It looks like it's playing again. You're playing. We're still frozen.
I'm going to move my arms around. Tell me if me moving my arms around shows up on the feed.
Yes.
Yeah. We see you live on the YouTubes.
And I'm moving my arms around?
Can the audience hear us? If someone could confirm.
Audience, are my arms moving around?
We know that only Seth is visible.
I can hear Hashi.
Don't know if...
Oh, I can hear Hashi and Michael. Can you guys hear me?
All right, Noseman says that Seth's fine and that you can hear us all.
Yeah, but can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We hear you.
I don't know why I nodded, knowing that distinctly you can't.
Yeah, you can't nod. This is now an audio medium. Okay.
Amazing. Well, this is phenomenal.
Yeah. Here. It's worth it. We never get to do this. Here we go.
Seth. Oh, what? Oh, no.
We never get to do it.
Seth, also, something else. The YouTube chats, I'm trying to pop them up on the screen, and that one's stuck.
Oh, interesting. This seems like it's coming from me.
Interesting. Yeah, so they can hear
Hashi's moving again. Hashi's moving again.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So am I. What?
Everybody's moving again.
I'm sharing my screen. We can see if that's there.
Okay.
Moving. I still can't pop quotes up, though.
Seth. Okay.
Or take them away.
Okay.
Refresh your...
I think that looks back.
Yeah, your screen's moving. Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing we're missing is the quotes.
Wild. All right.
Well, okay. The quote. Let's figure this out. All right, you guys. Hashi, you teach while I figure that out.
All right. So, how did I forget the next thing? Need a wait, Noseman, you're in the chat. What is it that I need again? I want to access the normals, but it's not from the normals. It is vertex attributes, maybe. No, not vertex attribute. Shucks. What do I want here?
State. You're looking for the state node.
State. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the state. No wonder I couldn't remember. I knew it looked like the little setting things. Here we go. Sorry. Here is the state node. Check it out. The state node has outputs for how things are basically appearing in your world and can give you all of this kind of information, which is really cool. So specifically what I want the normal from the world to be a way that we kind of can map the snow onto this tree. So what's kind of cool is I'm going to add one more node called the color splitter right here, because the normals are basically three, like a red, green, and blue channel combined to show you the different directions. And they blend into that weird, normal map color. But
can you solo it so we see what it looks like, please?
Oh, yeah. Check it out.
Man, there you go. Look at that.
It's normal map. So look. So
you can see which way everything's facing.
Being blasted from that direction. Red being blasted from this direction. And
crucially,
straight above, green.
Spoiler alert for what we're about to do.
Check it out. So if I send this, the normal map right here, to this color splitter, I can use the output green as my blend color right here. And I'll unsolo this now and check out what happens. Boop. Did I freeze? Is that what happens?
Did it?
Here we go. So check out this.
Now you just have snow where things are pointing up.
Just the top of the tree is dusted with my snow texture. Pretty cool, right? Let's see. I can do the same thing. Let me do this. Just the one that's like on its side. Here we go. I'll show that process one more time in whole. All right. So we'll add in this thing. I feel like my whole thing is playing sluggishly, but since this one's nice and sideways, I think it's going to show it off even better. Here we go. Here's an object. I know it's very dark because we're doing this dark sequence. We can dive into it. And what's kind of cool is if we've done it once before, we can copy the nodes from over here. And I can say copy my reference, my state, color splitter, and material blender, and copy those, and then dive into this texture right here, make some space for them, paste this little combo right here, and all I need to do is plug the output color from there to the output color there, and now everything should be doing what it just did in the other. Here we go. Oh, and I think after I pasted, it lost the reference in my reference object. Yep. Drag the snow back into there, and then I'll come back out here and update, darn you. This is what was happening to me earlier. It knows, but it doesn't. Let me see. Let me stop Redshift for a second and then restart. Okay, stop, restart, and now relook at your color. There it goes. Yeah, this one's super distinct. So now we've got some white peppered on the top of the tree there. Look at that. So now I've got all this, and we can start doing something kind of like we did on our Jurassic Park forest episode, which will be fun. Yeah, kind of cool. I'm going to continue to do that for a couple other things. How's it going over there, Seth?
Good. I'm working on Lockdown. So let me jump out of this and actually just, maybe I can walk people through it. But so I've got this sequence where I just kind of like pulled some later, like 4-frame jumps from like later on in the plate.
Nice.
So it's just a little jump cuts. And what I'm doing now is I went up here to my plate. This was originally just like it was a video file, not a bunch of pre-comps. And I went up to the plate, I right-clicked it, said replace with pre-comp, and then it automatically replaced all instances of it in the project with this new pre-comp that I made called Plate Normal. Then I have duplicated, and that's what this is. All of these right now are just the normal plate. Then I have a duplicate of it called Plate Change, and I think I'm just going to do like 2 versions of each, right? I'm just going to do like the normal version and then like a adjusted version. I might actually, and I could honestly, I might make more just for fun. Just like start having his wardrobe and background flip out like crazies. But for now, I'm going to start with one changed plate. And a couple things I'm going to have to do. I'm probably going to want to roto him. I think I'm going to get to that. I'll probably want to create a clean background, like a clean plate to work with. For now, I'm going to go ahead and I want to, just to show you, we've done this on the show a bunch of times, but I'm going to apply lockdown to the plate. I'm going to click pop out. And I am doing this to this is kind of probably a dumb idea to do it to the entire stock footage clip, but why not? I'm going to
do it, Seth.
I'm going to track some specific points on his wardrobe that I think Lockdown should have an easy time tracking, I would hope. And Then I'm going to click track all the second that I'm ready, which is not yet. Let's go with all of these for now. And I'm going to click track all. And it's going to go through here and it will track the whole thing. So maybe I could, I could do a tracking break. But honestly, it's pretty long. I think it's going to take a little bit. So I might go back to you. What do you do?
Hey, Seth, before you do too much, there's a comment from Demizart, who is watching on the Maxon channel, asking if you can make the main screen bigger. There is a lot of margin around the screens, and they would like it if at some point we could make these screens we're demoing stuff on bigger. Might be a discussion for the next season when we redesign things. But
problem is when I do that, then we're covering. We're covering things up when I do that. Like we've tried this on the show before, and it gets claustrophobic so quickly. So,
yeah. I mean, they're right. There are a lot of margins, but we need the margins.
Yeah, because design and beauty, which two things that define our show.
Speaking of the comments, that you might be going, hey, I'm seeing comments pop up that aren't on my stream, and like Brian said, I accidentally drawing the wrong stream. I was like, wait, there are no comments. That's because you were watching on a different channel. The mainstream channel is youtube.com/@VFXandChill is where the majority of the chat is going on. So if you want to see the jokes that are too raunchy to put on air, just kidding. No one's done that this week. But
come on, why are you challenging them? Don't challenge them.
I'm not making it a challenge. No politics, no raunchiness, please. I was just making a joke.
Gonna happen. Actually, instead it's gonna be Justin Ledoux makes mediocre joke, offends literally everyone. Anyway, go there, do that. While you're at it, by the way, we have a suggestion box. You can go and put suggestions in for things that we
absolutely do.
It's the button is right next to the one for the URL. So why don't I just do that? All right, this is still tracking. So I'm gonna stop it. No.
You're welcome to
what are you up to
go over to here if you need a moment. So I have these trees, and they all have a little bit of snow on the top of them. You can't see it right now because I'm not in the IPR, but I've added a landscape shape right here just because I want some kind of a ground plane. I'm going to turn the scale of it up until we have something kind of cool like this, just kind of weird and broken up a little bit. I can adjust the scale to see how many of like furrows and whatever I want. I'll go with something like this. And then I'm going to move my camera maybe over here. And let's just create a new Redshift camera, be looking through it. And from here, I'm going to go up and say MoGraph. Let's create a matrix. And this matrix is going to be an object kind of matrix. I'm going to grab the landscape into it right there. And visually, we're not going to see a whole ton yet, but I'm going to turn up the count, and you're going to see all these little
Spider-Man turn up the count.
Squares propagate, like salt on a pretzel or something like that. To sort of randomly scatter themselves.
I'm eating salt on a chocolate chip cookie right now.
What?
Yeah.
No way. You're supposed to be doing a live stream.
I know. I do lots of things at once. I'm a multitasker. Crazy. All right. Back to your cookie. What's up?
Excellent. So the distribution is surface mode, which is great, but I'm actually going to disable, I think under I guess it's right here, align clone. I'm going to turn that off. And then I'm going to add a redshift tag to this matrix right here. Because if I do that, you'll see that particles is one of the very first objects you can have right here. And
it only does that when you're on a particle object or a matrix object or something that is a particle. Just like you'll see curve show up if you put a redshift tag on a spline, but you're not seeing it here. It's very handy.
It is very handy. And I can just drag like my tree 1, tree 2, fallen branch, and tree 3 into this. I'll give it just a second there. Let's see. Oh, sorry. I guess I need to switch it to custom objects first. And then I can put in tree 1, tree 2, fallen branch, and that. And it'll look like nothing has changed. So you'll be like, why was that even worth doing it? Well, if I go over here and say, start the IPR. Look at this.
Whoa.
Totally blank. I need to restart this program. I feel like I had it open alongside everything else. And all
you know what? Why don't we take a preemptive break? We'll be right back after this.
Text.
We're going to take a preemptive break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are doing some Severance-y stuff. My shot is almost done tracking, so I'm going to switch over here and check it out. No, stop it. I'm sorry. I need to turn that one off. Okay, I think it is done. So if you can see here, got all of these. I'll select them all so they all maybe appear better as yellow. So we can see they're all tracking to the to this guy's close. If I hit auto triangulate, it's even more fun to watch. So
nice.
Now
and
that
you want to control or command option shift some new dots around the app.
So you can command option shift, hold that down, and click around here to create a larger radius area outside of here. Because if I didn't do all of these, so if I clear the mesh and auto triangulate, if I hadn't done that, it would have just been inside. It would have given me just that area inside this space to be able to replace. But by adding these extras and clearing the mesh and auto triangulating, I now have all this extra space. I'm going to do, I'm going to come out and do some right below frame as well.
Good idea.
And clear mesh, auto triangulate. And
look at that.
I'm going to say set the lockdown mesh UV frame as the first frame, just to be specific. I come out of here and I'm going to hit lockdown. And now it duplicates my plate. So I have my plate as it originally stood with no effects on it. Then I have the second version that has lockdown applied to it. Then I have this pre-comp called plate stabilized. And basically this one right here, this new one that's been generated, is going to exclusively be whatever I put in this stabilized pre-comp. That will now be mesh tracked onto the guy's close. So I'm gonna rename this close. And so if I go into this pre-comp, I've got this checkerboard here. I'll turn that off. And just to kind of show you, I'm gonna be like shirt in this My Neighbor Totoro font.
What's released handbook.
Anyway, what was that?
It's the way they label everything in the Severance offices.
It is, yes, with the My Neighbor Totoro font. So I put that here, and now it's tracked onto his clothes.
Look at that.
That's fun. So what does that mean? That means I can do a little something like this. Let me turn that off. And making sure I'm on my first frame, which you'll see there's a marker right here called lockdown stabilized. That marker represents the frame that you chose to be your lockdown mesh UV frame. If you're going to do any content aware fill or generative fill, this is the frame you want to be on before you send it over to Photoshop. So I'll go over to content aware fill. I'm going to say create reference frame, and it will open Photoshop, where I will be told for the 80,000th time, I'll be told for the 80,000th time that there is a new version of Photoshop and I should update, and I will ignore it for the 80,000th time. No. Now, what I'm going to do is select around this guy's clothes. And what kind of outfit do we want to give him?
Let's see.
Hey, chat, what should he wear? Give us some outfit suggestions. Clown costume, tuxedo.
Hawaiian
I'll
shirt.
put tuxedo right now just to see what happens.
It's a good call. Dapperizing in 3.
Okay.
Oh,
Pretty good. I'm going to go with that
look
one.
at that.
And what I am going to do here,
That's
and this
the
is
one.
probably not smart, but, well, I'm going to select both these layers, and I'm going to say, I'm going to actually duplicate my reference layer. And I'm going to select these top two, and I'm going to say convert to smart object. So now it's one thing. And then I'm going to select just the wardrobe. And maybe his neck? I don't know.
Don't try not the neck.
Yeah, try not the neck. Select and mask.
Yubu Tanu wants
As the
this
old
person
adage
to
goes.
wear an aquarium.
To
Which made me think of
Wear an
perhaps put a castle on the head, like certain stylish folks do. Nick Smith wants an ugly Christmas sweater. Michael
that's
Powlak
fine.
wants
That's
VFX
good.
and Chill sweatshirt merch. Nick Smith just wants to see what Phil comes up with for the ugly Christmas sweater.
All
And
right, I'm going to do
unrelated
the Christmas
to
sweater.
question-
For now, though, I'm going to just save this real quick as it is. Like I'm just isolating just that layer via copied version of this, and go back to After Effects and just purge my cache real quick.
Purge that cache, baby.
Which, by the way, I have a button I made. Oh, look at that. Okay.
Yes.
So I also want to freeze that and make it last across the whole
Your
frame.
reference frame is just one frame. So
And then I'm
so
going
it's
to, I forgot, I
freezing
did this in the main comp. So I'm going to copy it out of here, go into the, no, it's not. Get out of here. Put it into this pre-comp, come back here, and now that tuxedo moves very
Look at
nicely
that.
around in here. So I do need to do a clean plate, and I need to do like an isolated just his head and neck layer to be able to get away with this. And then I'll start doing the background as well. Michael, I
Look
cut
at
you off.
that.
I'm so sorry. What were you saying?
Oh, I forget what I was saying. But unrelated to our previous discussions, Blake's asking, are any of us going to be at NAB? I don't think I'm going to make it this year. I think I'm not. How about you two? Are you either of you going?
I don't think so,
I
unfortunately.
don't think so either, unfortunately.
I mean, I'm not ruling out entirely, but I'm thinking I won't be there.
Yeah, John Wick said that once. I'm thinking, he also said he was thinking he was back. He thought a lot of things. Rest in peace, John Wick. I think he's alive, canonically.
Speaking of Johns, John Haley says that Chris Vranos says that he loves us. It's true. Chris Vranos does love us. and we love Chris.
Vranos, we love you, sir. I don't know what the accent was that I just did. I hope it wasn't offensive, because I didn't
It's a
mean it to be an
lockdown
accent.
accent.
It's a lockdownian accent. We are Lockdown Abbey, which will be our next episode.
Hey, look at that.
Look at this. Look at the Christmas sweaters.
Wow.
Every time the content where Phil wants him to be smaller, Jason Murphy says we should probably warp or liquefy the tux to fit the shoulders more to make the person not shrink every time content aware Phil does his thing.
Let me tell
Regenerative
you,
Phil, I mean.
that's a brilliant idea. Rather than painting out, see, this is the thing, kind of smart thing Hashi would do, know to do, is instead of doing this paint out garbage, I'll just apply liquefy to it and just
I do this trick so often to
stretch
avoid
his
painting
body
out.
to be bigger.
It's ridiculous. Because look at this. Look how.
I mean, it's
good
not
solution
it's
this
not
was. Look
very
how
flattering
natural
to
he
him.
looks right there.
To be completely honest, this is not the most flattering look for him, but it might be. We'll just say this is like the David Byrne suit, is what this is.
This is like he's gonna do one of those like quick change magic shows.
He's gonna rip it off for the next sketch.
where you're like, look at this. I'm just wearing this simple tux. It's not over.
This
20
looks
other
ridiculous. I'm in a real tux, not a cocoon.
It's amazing.
I'll mess with it.
All right. While you mess with that, I can show people what my next step over here would be.
Yeah.
As you recall, we added a matrix object with a landscape referenced right here. And you can see all these little like squares laid out, which is neat, but you can't really see, the trees for the wood.
Or for the trees for the forest.
There it is. So I'm going to start the IPR, and look at that. As soon as I do that,
Nice.
In render, what it's doing is it's creating all of these clones using Redshift, which is really handy. So
Yeah, because that means instead of Cinema 4D sending a bunch of geometry data for every single tree to redshift. It just sends each tree once to redshift, and redshift then just kind of copies and pastes in the GPU at render time, so it doesn't have to hold all its geometry in memory, and it's just a great way to instance things if you're doing like a whole forest. And the cool thing is, this is on a matrix object, so on the matrix object you can use all your normal effectors that you would put on a cloner, so like a random effector for this, the rotation, and for the size. And
yeah, for example, right here, I'll throw a random effector in here, and then we'll go to parameter, we'll uncheck position, because we're already getting that for free. Let's do some rotation. And is it this?
Probably heading.
Heading. Oh, whoops, yeah. I keep on trying to switch this back to XYZ. I really prefer XYZ. I'm going to turn that up way past 360 just so I know I'm getting a random arrangement of those. So yeah, check that out. I could even add some scale if I wanted to. Maybe uniformly scale them so they're not getting too stretched. Oh, whoa.
Question. Now, I will say you need to make sure that your anchor points for all of these are the point you want them to be growing from.
I believe that I set that up correctly. I'll take a little peek under the... Yeah. I think I did set that up correctly.
That was just a note for folks.
A note for folk. I like that. All right. So I have this really blobby, blurry HDRI background just because I wanted just a little bit of information, but not a ton. Right now, I feel like I'm not... Yeah, my snow isn't as visible as I wish it were on these trees. But that's okay.
Displace it.
Let's see. Let's try it. Let's go over to here, and we'll go to... oh, no. It deleted the reference to my snow when I got rid of unused textures.
Wah, wah.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Let's...
While Hashi rebuilds his snow thing, Seth, what is the Whirly script panel? We need a drop for this.
Oh yeah, Whirly scripts is my... Well, you know what it is. Michael, you explain what it is this time. I got a cookie in my mouth. Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry. I just didn't realize that you had accepted cookies. The Whirly scripts panel in After Effects. If only had a drop for when I make a bad joke. The Whirly Scripts panel is a dream for us to chase. No, it's a panel that Seth made of his own tools, and he's teasing us with it by having it float in the background behind us at all times in the in the stream, as you can see it right up there. No, it's just Seth made a bunch of tools and a little panel he can easily throw his tools into a scene with, just for his own personal workflow. It's one of the great things about After Effects is it's so extensible, and the After Effects team works really hard to make After Effects extensible. And it means you can add on to it and make it be your own thing. One of the product managers at Adobe who works on After Effects has said that After Effects was made to do things After Effects wasn't made to do. But they spend so much time making it so you can add your things onto it, because people use After Effects for so many things. It's not just for basic motion graphics. It's not just for visual effects. It has crazy workflows that you probably wouldn't even ever think of. And so anyway, the point is Seth made himself a little panel that does things.
Brilliant.
Damn it, Michael! Good job.
All right, what have we done here? Whoops, I plugged some of these in wrong. I'm Russian and trying to get everything plugged in.
You're what? Russian. Thought you were American.
It's a twist, just like that hit TV show, The Severance.
There are theories, Russian-related theories around Severance.
Russian roulette theories?
No.
Well, that's Squid Games.
Yeah, that's Squidrants.
Jeez. All right. Anyway,
which is just a Squidward spinoff.
I think the next thing that I ought to do here is I'm going to go to the intensity of the HDRI and turn it down a lot, something like this. And then I'm going to add an environment object right here, redshift environment. And it's going to blind you. I usually warn people ahead of time, but I didn't. And let's just set this. Let's go over to our bluishes and then dive down to kind of a grayish, just slightly blue color.
If you want like a nice, subtle, simple fog, you can turn the scattering to 0 or maybe very low, and then just turn the attenuation up to an appropriate amount. It's one way to do it. It just makes it nice and dark. depending on your color, of course. But you can do all kinds of things. What's really cool is you can adjust the camera contribution of this fog, or the contribution of this fog to like a light. Like if you have an HDRI that you actually want to see, or you have a redshift sky that's back there, you just reduce the environment fog contribution slider below the camera contribution slider, so that affects how intense the fog is on an infinitely far objects like a dome light or physical sky. And then you can easily color pick the horizon color of your HDRI for your fog and get a kind of a fog that blends into your atmosphere, your light, your sky, whatever you've got. Alex is saying,
Pretty
wouldn't it be
cool.
more efficient to render out a Z-depth pass and do the mist in post?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily, but
depending on a lot of things. For example, if you wanted to put a 3D light in here and have light rays, maybe.
Yeah, like I know in the show, there's like a, let's see, let's just do it with a little area light for the moment. It's a little area light, and I'll make it a circle, probably. A little disc, I mean. Oh, I love the way this looks. Look at that.
Yeah, you can't do that in post. Actually, you can with trap code Lux. Sort of. It's not quite the same.
Sort
it
of.
won't give you,
It
won't give you like the light beams when it has a shadow. But if you want a really fast spotlighty thing like this, you can get it with Lux really fast and really easily in After Effects, and it can be linked to your Cinema 4D lights. So
I do use that a lot actually for little cheated things like that. All right, I'm throwing this way back here, and let's see, I'm going to turn it up a little bit just because I want to kind of see.
Hello, Russians. There's a Russian in the chat saying the Russians are here, by the way. Hello.
I can create like a moonlight
Welcome.
object back here.
A moonlighting object?
Whoa.
Whoa.
Sybil
That's
Shepherd.
Hashi, that looks so cool. I mean, I know it's brighter than you want it
Whoa!
to be, but it just, it looks
It's so
neat.
fun.
It's like a helicopter. Oh my gosh.
That's incredible.
So then, like, obviously, you'd do something like you'd add some keyframes for the camera. Boop, boop. Let's go to the end here, and I'll just do a little truck on over this direction. There we go. And now I'll have, this one is not going to play back, I guess, because I'm in the IPR, but now you have this little like camera gliding across this landscape. I know I made it very bright, but you get the principle here. So yeah, we can turn it down to kind of as dark as it is in the show, something like that. I feel like one thing that I would do is I would probably go to the snow and see if turning up the subsurface would make it punch up anymore in here. I don't know if using the reference object, if it's actually allowing me to do that. Because if I turn up the emission, it doesn't seem to be doing anything.
Well, is your a reference object feeding into the color, or is it feeding into...
See, this is my issue. The reference object has an output. I don't know what... Can the reference feed into either not a state object. It's like almost like it wants to feed into a standard material object, so I can have all of these. But I want to split this out, and I don't know what operator that is because it's not color splitter. Like this is stuff that I learned like today, trying to figure this out. And our amazing Node Man was helping me with this.
Node Man?
Node Man. Let's see. If I check additive, I imagine that's just an additive blending mode now, right? Brightened the heck out of that one. I think this is what I thought was fixing it for me earlier, but I don't love it as much as I did then.
Linear Drift is saying, let's discuss camera morph, LOL. I just discovered that the other day. Camera morph is a great tool for certain kinds of things. When you say, I know I want the camera to be here at this point and then here at that point, and then I want it to move between those 2 points. Camera morph is a very easy way to get that done. Another really cool thing that you might not have discovered is there's a camera crane and a motion camera setup. The motion camera setup is really neat. You can have your camera follow the path of a spline or just position to position, but you can add in things like the physics of footsteps, physics of arms of a cameraman holding it, and it's actually genuinely physics-based camera movement that's really neat and really cool. There's a lot of neat tools built in there. Viazzo is asking, is this the VFX for the official show or just a remake? We are not people who worked on the show. We are just talking about how you could recreate some of the effects in the show. So, for example, Seth is working on how you could recreate some of the effects of a particular scene where it's kind of match cutting / VFXing between outfits and places. And Hashi is working on how you could build a 3D set to match one of the ones in the show.
Yes.
And there's some Michael
the
Crane jokes
software that was used to make the intro sequences to the show, which is pretty cool, and I like that. Let's see. I don't know if brightness is coming from subsurface scattering or just purely from the color now. Yeah, I feel like it's just taking the color, and I really want to figure out how to be able to change this in the future, because I feel like since it's a reference object, I should be able to change this, go to here, and then it should update, but it doesn't immediately. I don't know what needs to reload. Anyway, I tire of this forest, but you get it.
Pretty incredible.
Landscape, trees, stuff.
Now, I know that, like, I know the suit was too big, right? Like, the tuxedo looked too big, so I think I have a solve for it. Here's how it's looking right now.
Oh, yeah, it's so much better.
There it is.
So much better? Good. Great. Done.
Stylish.
Not really. I'm going to go and do the Christmas thing now.
All right. Well, if you're interested in the VFX from the show...
then get out of here.
Yeah, I think that one of the... Let's see. So we do know that Extraweg used some cool digital objects, like digi-doubles of these characters to do some funny effects. I can do one of the kind of silly effects that happens in it with this little model I have right here. So check this out. Let's look at this face object here. I'm going to go to Mesh, add... So let me go into polygon mode, and then I'll deselect, and then I'll go to Mesh, add, close polygon hole. There's a huge polygon hole on the bottom right here. Boom. So I'm just going to seal that up a little bit, just for the next step I'm going to do. Now I'm going to take Adam Scott, and I'm going to try to inflate his head, a la the second season's intro. So instead of trying to work with this geometry, not that it's that high level geometry, but it's enough that I'd rather do a simulation with something with less. Let's go to filter, turn off the work plane, and then let's add a couple of things. I'm going to add an actual ground plane here. I'm going to move up this character and set him kind of right on the surface like that. And then we're going to go and do a couple of things. The plane doesn't really matter, but I'm going to go add a collider tag to it under simulation. And then I'm going to go to these three objects, and I want to add them into a volume builder. So I want my face. I'm going to throw both eyes in this volume builder object here. And this is kind of weird. What you see here, what it's doing is it's creating these voxels, these kind of
ooh, that head is tiny.
Representations. It is tiny. This is, I think, the right scale for a head, which is ridiculous. So anyway, I'm going to go to these, and I'm going to turn down the voxel size to like 1 centimeter. Now you can see I have this voxel approximation that's much tighter to this face, which is great. From here, I'll put this volume builder object into a volume mesher. I think I can do that by holding down Shift and then selecting, not Shift. Is it Control or is it Alt?
Alt.
Michael knows.
Down Alt. Darn, Could have been right. You never know. I'm going to solo just this object. Now you can see the volume builder is inside a volume mesher. And if I press NB, you can see that it's a new smooth wireframed object, kind of like this. In my volume builder settings, I can add a couple of things. I know that it's trying to kind of put it like a net over this whole thing, so I can have a simplified geometry. But I'm going to do a couple of things. I can click on this smoothing object right here, and there are also some things like close and open and dilate and erode. And what those do is by a certain distance. Oh my gosh!
Keep in mind, you've got
the
this,
guys from AI.
You've got the layers happening, so this is happening to only part of your mesh, and that'll do it to all of it.
There we go. So I'm adding a dilate and erode because that basically builds up clay around these and then pulls it in. It's sort of like a double matte choker object is the point. So I'm going to kind of look at both objects together, and then I'm going to inflate the strength of this dilate and erode until it's big enough that it is definitely, pretty much containing the entire Adam Scott head. And now this volume mesher gets to go into one more object. I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm going to put it inside a remesh object. And the coolest thing about that is, look at this. It puts these smooth topos on here. But I can say, I want this to be symmetric in X, and I also want this mesh density to be more like 25%, the number of polys. So I'll set that to 25%, and now I have fewer, and maybe even less. Let's try 15. That feels
wow
to me. So you may already be ahead of me. I'm going to press C to turn this into a mesh, and you can keep a copy of that if you want. You don't have to work destructively like I do, but I like to work destructively. I'm going to grab my grab tool and just stretch out that a little bit to encompass the nose a little bit better. I can also, if I want, go to the remesh object and check X-ray. Then I can see kind of how tight to the face this mesh is, and maybe kind of make it a little bit tighter in some areas. It's generally important for your character to not poke out a lot. You want it to be kind of as tight as you can get away with that still encompasses your guy. This is pretty darn close. So now we're going to do our favorite old trick. Have I been talking for too long, Seth? Do you need to?
No, not at all.
All right. Well, let's do it. This should be fun. Okay, so
Demazar is asking, why not use remesh from the beginning? Why is there the intermediate volume builder step? That's a good question.
That is a good question.
You want me to answer it, or you got it?
You answer.
It's not necessarily that important for this specific mesh, but for what Hashi's about to do. But for many instances, like in our fire episode, Hashi needed trees to react to something falling through them. I think it was the fire episode. And the trees have way, way, way too much detail for what he's about to do. So he needed to knock down the level of detail. And in this case, we've got the eyes, the nose, and he just wanted to be kind of smoother overall. So it's still useful for this, but you are correct that he didn't necessarily, for this particular model, need to do the volume builder step. But for a much more complex model, or a model of or a thing built up of several different parts, you would definitely need to do that.
Good question. All right. So obviously, you've all probably guessed that what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this remesh object and then go to simulation tags, and there are a couple of things we can do. Let's click on balloon just right off the bat. I'm going to move the ground plane down a little bit because I can tell the object is poking a little bit through the ground. And if you focus on just this remesh object, I'll solo it for a moment. There's a collider plane below it, and it's a balloon object. And if I press play now, what should happen is this thing should basically act somewhat like a balloon, which is kind of cool.
Nope, you got it slightly. Yep, there it goes. You may have it slightly underneath the collider, potentially, possibly.
Let's see. Plane. Let's lower it down.
There you go.
Wow. Okay, so we've got this balloon, as it were. So if we want, I can do things like there's under the balloon tab, I can say overpressure and expansion time. So if I wanted to, I could dial the overpressure to like 4.8. Look at that. So it's doing that with this really simplified model. And what's cool about this is now I don't even need to look at this object. I can go over to my object that is containing the face and the two eyes right here. And right inside here, I'm going to add a mesh deformer right here. Oops. Put that in there. And then under cage, we're going to drag this remesh object. Maybe I'll call this face cage. And we'll put that in here. Ba-doom. And then before I hit initialize, I'm going to go to advanced, and then I'm going to click on surface. That's going to make sure that if there's any little points that are sort of outside of it, like the very tip of his nose, it's not a big deal. So I'm going to surface mode, and then I'm going to say initialize, and then you'll see that the display mode of the cage became this like black grid. And that's just a result of the automatically applied compositing tag. Or actually, no, it's display tag, where it's forcing this object to always use lines mode. Anyway, I'm just going to hide that away, because what's going to happen now is the simulations that I applied to this thing are going to actually apply to this whole model now. It's wild. I love this.
I love doing the overpressure thing in the cloth simulation, but what I really like doing is driving where the overpressure happens with the vertex map, because you can now procedurally generate vertex maps with noises and such, so that squeezes the overpressure area only into certain spots, and you can get some really cool bubbly, boily effects. It's just, especially if you animate the noise, it's just so good. Speaking of spoily, bubbly effects, Linear Drift is saying, what about the camera deformer? Yes, for those who are not familiar, the camera deformer is M4D. Like any deformer, it deforms geometry, but it does it from the view of a camera. It's like the mesh distortion tool in After Effects, where you get a mesh and you can move the mesh around and it just kind of smears your picture around. It does the same exact thing in M4D, but with a mesh from a specific angle of a camera. Very useful for a still image, just getting things put where you want it to be, but really also useful for a ton of weird other kinds of effects. But yes, the camera deformer is a fun thing.
I'm doing this in a slightly odd way. I'm just going to the, I went over to tools and then the paint tool, and I painted right on top of the face cage, which gives me this little vertex map right here where the head is all a high value and the body is pretty still. And what's cool about something like that is if I go hide the object, I'm going to go to my cloth settings, and under balloon settings or under stretchiness, there are a couple of things that I think will all affect this. I can drag this map into there. And so if I turn down the expansion time so it'll be a little bit faster, I can press play here. And now you can see the head is way overinflating, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
And you can play with this. The expansion time could be even longer. You could go to the surface and say that the stretchiness is also influenced by this map right here. I could do things like go to the, let's see, point mode. I guess it's hidden or whatever, but I can select all of the bottom points. Whoops, I'll go to a side view, why not? Select all the bottom right there like that, and then go to my cloth tag, dresser, and fix points set. You'll see they turn purple like that. And now the base of this is going to be fixed, which I think will be fun to watch some effects happen like that. So let's hide this again. Let's press play. All right, so now I think the bottom is trying to hold still, and the rest of him is becoming, whoops. Oh no, camera, go back. All right, let's go to...
Every time I see it, it doesn't ever get old. It's just...
Turn this mass down, and under forces, I'm going to turn up lift a little bit.
I mean, we don't really have much in this.
They turned it to Bruce Campbell for a second there.
God, this is the substance. Substance.
This is wild. So yeah, what's fun about this is that you could have a much higher poly.
What's not fun about this?
What isn't fun about it?
I hope Adam Scott watches this show and just someone says, "Hey, they're playing with your head," and he tunes in right now.
It's respectful.
I'm
It's
really
done
sorry.
out of love.
I'm really sorry, Mr. Scott.
Your acting talents are appreciated.
See, I'm missing this. I don't even need this plane anymore, do I? Why am I missing that glow kitchen object? I favorited it, and now. Okay, let's just put them in this boring lighting. Yes. Okay, so here, that's kind of fun. All right, Seth, what are you up to over there?
What am I up to? I am just messing around with this whole workflow here. I've got this.
This is a great little thing. Check that out.
I've also got the tuxedo version. I can try and drop the tuxedo version in instead. So if I
mean, this would be totally passable as one of those YouTube pre-roll ads for
Oh, 100%. That's the worst thing ever. But yes, you're right. Absolutely could be.
It's more because it's stock footage with
yes, 100% it's the stock footage
clothing.
Because this is so much more compelling footage, obviously. And I honestly, you look at it, they're definitely I'm trying to figure out. I mean,
this is not unlike some of the weird stuff we tried on our generative fill episode.
I wouldn't be surprised if they are. Maybe I'm I'm probably just wrong. I feel like they're pulling just his eyes and making that and sticking that to across all the shots. Does that make sense?
It would make sense if they filmed all of this. What I would do, to be honest, is I would film it with Mark Scott.
Well, his character's name is Mark Scout, so it's very
name.
Confusing. Yeah.
There it is. I would film him just in the suit or whatever felt the best, and then have whoever his stand-in is dressed in alternate costumes, and then just go swap in real quick. Film that, because compositing is going to grab just his head, multiple bodies, and put them together. That's what I would do.
True. I'm curious, how much. Because here's what. Okay, either this is totally analog and they did it all the way you do it, and
I mean the chairs are moving.
The chairs are moving, but also look at the top. I don't know if you can tell over the stream, but look at the ceiling is shifting, with each frame. It's if I
it's either good compositing work or reveals that it is compositing work.
Yes, as I'm saying, it's either very good very smart, creative compositing work, or it's not compositing work at all. And so that's my
wild
thought. And if I were to the thing is, it matches. I wouldn't. This is the I wouldn't be surprised episode where we clearly don't know anything. And I bet you if we listen to that Severance podcast everyone else listens to, we would absolutely know the answer. But
there are too many podcasts, though.
There are too many.
Who wants to spend their
so
Friday
many,
afternoon?
And I can only listen to 2. So, the eyes is the thing. I would pick something like his face or something and unify it as close as possible across all the shots, so that simulated that feeling of everything is really close to normal. Also, who knows? They could have liquefied him, cheated him a little bit to line up, perfectly. But the way I'm thinking is, with what a perfectionist I hear Ben Stiller is, who's the director of the series, they probably had stills they took in camera that you can then overlay on the monitor, so where it's 50% opacity, and had Adam line up exactly where to be, and they shot it, which is very cool. It's just still fun to think about ways to do it in post.
It is incredible.
I just couldn't find a plate that's this cool looking or dynamic, where like the actor wasn't, where it either didn't look like stock footage or the actor wasn't like moving around and drinking coffee, which like I don't want to deal with that.
Wow.
Hey, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we've been doing Severance related VFX, mainly like speculative VFX, I'd say, like taking our best wild guess at what has gone into some more impressive shots, cooler shots that we, not more impressive or cooler, but just like shots that we were inspired by watching this new season.
Precisely. It's a fun show, and it has really cool, visuals that are unlike the standard VFX you would see in something. So it's kind of fun.
Absolutely. I have to make sure that I specify that everything mentioned by Justin the Duck in the chat is fictional, false, and absolutely not at all true. Just because the last one I don't like at the least.
Yeah, just I put all the rest of his Seth the kind of guy to things up on the screen, but that one I'm leaving down.
They're all false. Hashi, Michael, I think we're actually going to wrap up early this week. Do we have anything else we want to talk about before we go?
The Fantastic Four episode that we did last week, where we created
is good.
A live Snapchat lens and stuff like that you could try. Links for those are in the description for that episode, as is a download for the original project file. If you want that and have the Moves by Maxon app, you can just do that and have a nice Redshift render straight out of there if you'd like.
Yeah.
If we ever come up with stuff that we're able to give away, we're going to try to start sharing it on the in the descriptions. I don't think anything particularly pinged the giveaway category today, but in the future, as we do, ask us stuff, and we'll be able to share some of our stuff with you. We have an official pipeline now.
And if you are interested in how to recreate the effects from the best Super Bowl commercial this year, which was the ChatGPT one, at least in my opinion, very carefully handcrafted by humans. I made a quick little tutorial for it, which I was actually 3 very quick Tip Tuesday posts, about a minute long each, of how you could do some of the effects from it. One using Red Giant Universe dither tools just to kind of quickly fake it, and another one using some of the tools they actually used, because they actually did use Cinema 4D and Trapcode Form to make it, and so I show some ways you could do some of the effects in the tutorial on the Red Giant YouTube channel. That is linked in the chat.
And I'm going to vamp a little bit, Michael, so you can answer Alonzo's question. He was asking about something you're very passionate about, which last week on the show I was doing some tracking and null connections and things, and you were chastising me because in the After Effects beta is a new feature you're very excited about and passionate about, and I want to make sure that you have time to drop that link in the chat for Alonzo.
Oh, that link is in the chat.
He's a freaking magician. Just like a graceful ninja prancing around, killing people majestically. This metaphor fell apart. Everyone, we're so excited you watch the show. We're so excited to see you each week and for you to see us most of all. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next week. I believe so. Yes, we'll see you next week.
It's lovely. Chill. Bye-bye all.